Here I'm going to show you the latest innovation in TopoDOT tools for assessment of break line extraction. So if this is the last step of your process where you find yourself checking line work that somebody else has created, make sure that you use the latest tool called the elevation adjustment. The same functionality has been applied to the break line extraction and template tools for break line extraction QA/QC as you're creating them. But if you have to do checkups, then here is an example of how to quickly leverage this tool. First of all of these breaks have been created in segments. So before I run the tool, I want to make sure that these lines are joined together. So I'm going to use this create continuous element to join these segments together for as long as it can. And this is also going to help me ensure that these lines are touching at the ends, that they're continuous. And if they're not, then that means I need to adjust an elevation or a position of the end of that node to ensure that the lines are touching. So once those lines are all together like that, I can select them all, bring back my data, and ensure that I am on top view. There you go. And then I'm gonna go to the element elevation adjustment. So this window, you can extend it as much as you want. It's meant to be going a long way. And we're going to check the front face of the curve along with the view from top view. So right away you can see here that it finds all three lines that I've created or that were created, and is using the back of the curve as the center of the cross section that is showing me here. But if I want to change that cross section to maybe focus a little bit more on the front face of the curve, which is not the case here, as you can see the pink area right here is what is showing me on this view, I can either move or shift my path towards the front face of the curve a little bit more, or I can use another line to be the path. So usually, just like when we do the break line, topo curve or flow line would be best. So in this case, let's use topo curve as our guideline. The only problem with topo curve is that if it drops down and whatnot, that will be applied here on this view. So let's just use flow line, and I'm gonna just shift it a little bit back so that it is focusing on the top of the front face of the curve and the top of the curve, and I see all three lines within the pink box. Next, I'm going to evaluate this section. So if I move on my top view and I can look at the region that this segment is showing me on the elevation adjustment tool, I can see that my lines actually change in direction at some point. But in my view, they are laid flat. And that's important because in this view, I just want to focus on the elevation changes on my nodes and not necessarily on the direction that the line has changed. That can still be checked on this tool, but we want to be able to see these flat. So right away I can see how my topo curve, flow line, and if I hide temporarily the topo curve, back of curve is back there, and how they are correct and where I see the nodes. So these are where the tools have placed nodes. If I need to introduce any points in between, I can do so at any time, but the goal here is to look for those changes or evaluate the points that are already being made. So if nothing needs to be changed here, I can go to the next segment like this, or I can use these magnifying glasses. And as you can see, it overlaps a little bit from the previous section into the next, so that I can quickly assess if there are any changes in between the segments. So you can evaluate the break lines easily here, and maybe if you need to make changes, you can just click on move vertex and this is going to move both the back of curb and top of curb in this case. Everything that is within that area, so I can adjust it. And this is typical of something in an urban area, maybe where curbs constantly change. If the template is not quite fitting well there, then it's still going to try to place it but not fit it perfectly. So this is a great way of making small changes that maybe need to be placed. And you can quickly address those or see them happen because the lines kind of help you project and visualize it. So for example here, I can see that there is a little bit of an offset there for the top curve, and the next point is okay but not in between, so I can always insert a node right there and adjust, move my top of curve and back of curve, and to introduce that change. And I can just go back and look and see if that's being applied, and it looks good. So that is taking place as well on my view, so it should be somewhere around here. That's the node that I just placed. Alright, so I'm gonna go next and keep looking for any discrepancies. Maybe the brake lines are okay in most places. Maybe right here it's a little bit difficult to address that change in elevation. And if you, for example, don't want this node right here, we can just delete it first, insert it prior to the curve, and then maybe on the other side of where it changes, and then move those nodes individually, right? If you must. If you want to see a cross section of any of these points, you can also create a cross section, change the thickness of the cross section, and then move those points. If you prefer to move the points all together as a whole, you can move your up and down arrows, or press the up and down arrows on your keyboard to make it larger up, and low the low one, or the down one, to make it smaller, so that you can include all of the points inside that circle and then join it, move them all together. And that's a click and hold type of thing. Okay, so you can apply all of these changes where they're happening. We can see that this is a especially tricky section because that's where there is a change in direction, and that's why we probably needed a couple more nodes there. Okay, so you can, even though you're seeing 2D views, so cross section, front face, and top view, this is a much more accurate way of interpreting the elevations of your results than trying to see it in 3D. Okay, so same here, the elevation may be just adjusted here and it'll be applied for most of the line, or you can just introduce it at any time by creating a new node somewhere here, right? And adjust. There you go. So that's that for minor changes. For larger and maybe more obvious issues, like missed out sections of a ramp or inlet, for example, so something like this, these are pretty easily spotted from afar, and you can quickly address this. So whether you're using a smart cell or not, you can definitely take advantage of you know, extracting or placing that ramp right there, or maybe introducing it with a smart cell and then editing your smart cell. So for example here I can see that this placement of the ramp, it's got the first point right here, but maybe not the low points or the next high point. So first I need to ensure that this section of the ramp is actually fitting the top of the curve. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on insert my high points right there and maybe create a cross section through it just to verify it. And it's indeed not quite fitting the front face of the curve, so I'm gonna move my or click on the up arrow on my keyboard to make the circle wide enough to include all of the points, to adjust all the points at the same time. Let go, and now that it is adjusted, you can see how it's moved here on top view. So that's important to ensure that my next set of points are going to be placed at the right position horizontally. So that'll be the case if you see like maybe missing data in the front face of the curve. You can tell that it's not at the right elevation. Now we can introduce the ramp here at the lower points here of the ramp. And if I were, for example, not to want to introduce maybe place points, for example, not place my flow line, I can disable it from modification and then insert all the other points. So I can do that, for example, without having to create a point for the flow line, even though that's already there. Okay, and then we're gonna do a quick check and for all of these points, making sure that these are set properly, and that's it. Then we can move on to the next segment. So you can quickly address those areas that are very clearly that they clearly have issues or that need to be adjusted. And so for example, here we have another area where you see, because I have the hollow points, that means that those nodes have not been introduced, and I have a flow line there, a back of curve there that is being created properly, but not the other points. So first I'm gonna delete any points I have there, and then I'm going to insert points again right about there. Make sure on my cross-section view that everything looks fine, and if I need to modify anything, I can do so. So this can help me see any potential misalignment or anything like that. And right here I can see that it most of it comes from like an inlet, so that needed to be placed there to introduce that change in elevation around the curve. And that's pretty much how you can use this tool to evaluate your break lines. It is very, very helpful in evaluating multiple break lines. You can do it with you know, your edge of pavement tool or even sidewalk, but you definitely want to just make it concentrate on small segments of data so that you don't have too much depth in this view. And but it is a great way of ensuring that the break line has the quality that you expect from TopoDOT, and you're gonna need to make fewer changes later on when you create your 3D model or export. So I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, please email us at support@topodot.com, or you can call one of our offices at any time. Please leave us some comments with any suggestions for more videos on other methods or other processes you'd like to see. And TopoDOT 2020.2 is the latest release. It is available for Connect products, MicroStation Update 13 or newer, or OpenRoads Designer Release 2 Update 8. Thank you for your time.